Unpacking the tale of a sale, 23 Roger Street Kindergarten. A yield, a kindy, a commercial property. We're going to unpack it and talk about all different parts, the A's, B's and C's of commercial purchasing and the 23 Roger sale. Stay tuned. One of the most positive people in my world, ZANTHANY BORULA.
Well, thank you so much. Good morning.
How are you?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Good. Off air, I asked ZANTHANY a question, guys. I said, are you always this happy inside as well as outside?
It's all for show. It's just a big facade. Internally, I'm broken.
This lady is a ninja, the octopus ninja, happy, go get 'em champion.
Thank you.
What a weapon. What a weapon. Now, we're going to talk this morning about 23 Roger Street. We just sold the property for $4.3 million. And the catch here, $1 million. The catch here is the income was circa over $300,000. So you buy this property and you got that rent coming into your pockets for a very, very long time because it's got a long lease. Where do we start?
So where do we start? So it was positioned as the ultra 6 to 7% yield, triple net income. So should we unpack that a little bit and just what is a 6 to 7% yield? How is that good? And what is a triple net income?
Okay, so a yield is the yearly rent over the purchase price. And let's face it, you don't actually know the purchase price until you've purchased it. So it's a bit of a moving feast. It's a bit of a moving target. But the rent that's coming in was pretty locked in. And the reason the rent was so locked in was because the tenant was on a super long lease. So it was a kindy that we were selling. They had 72 kids in the kindy. It's a wonderful business. It's a full kindy. Always ready to take more customers though. And they had signed a lease which had options. So it went for 10 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5. So it had a lease all the way out to 2043, which is huge.
It's a massive, huge long-term tenant, which is really attractive to investors as well.
Yep.
Should I bring up the little info memorandum and talk through that, or?
Absolutely. And just before I just answer the second piece of your question, what a triple net yield is. So if you want to work out the yield, you put the rent over the purchase price. But triple net means the tenant's going to pay a lot of your costs. So when you have a asset like a commercial property, you have land tax commitments. You've got to pay them every year. You've got council, you've got to pay it every year. You've got strata levies, you've got to pay them every year. So you've got a lot of quarterly, annual costs that are coming in that you've got to bear. But you get to pass that on to the tenant as well as maintenance and repairs. Another cost as a landlord you get every year. You have something coming up, but the tenant with a triple net lease, the tenant's going to pay it all.
How good. It seems like an opportunity too good to pass up, really, the way you put a spin on it. So commercial property, kindy, it was 4 titles in one lot in Roger Street.
Yeah, building of 100 units. And what the developer cleverly did, he said, I'm going to build where the shops are going. I'm going to purpose build a kindy for these guys. So he got approved a certain amount of space and did the fit out with the kindy operator.
And it's a relatively new building as well. It's only a few years old, 5 years, if that.
Yeah. Yep.
Initially went to auction, so we were really positive about a high auction clearance rate, going for squillions. And then what happened on the day of the auction, Mark?
It failed.
No, we don't fail. We just learn from this. A failure is a positive.
Failed. So it passed in. The reserve price at the auction was 4.3. and there was no bids.
I think an auction can scare a lot of people as well. And because it is quite a particular property in the way of commercial, look, I honestly don't know a lot about commercial, so I wouldn't be skewed towards even thinking about an auction of this kind of caliber. So maybe that could have been a little bit of a deterrent for some people not too, I don't know, knowledgeable about the commercial space or things like the triple net lease or a yield or anything else that kind of pops up. Depreciation.
You'd be surprised the level of investor that's interested in this type of assets quite advanced. They're not a beginner in most part. So auction, they're not too freaked out in their life. They've been to a few. They're not a first home buyer.
Yeah, fair enough. That makes sense. So then following the auction, I might just bring up this little information memorandum so people can actually see exactly the property that we are talking about. So the income here, the Kindy, it's a beautiful space I've been through myself, modern, sleek. Imagine a child, and this is their heaven, basically. I had even had fun on some of the play equipment.
ZANTHANY was on the tricycle, and I got a photo to prove it.
So
yeah, so that's an aerial there. Shows you the outdoor courtyards. Can we just cycle quickly through, then we'll come back to the beginning. So outdoor courtyards, indoor nice and schmick. There's your huge income, and we've broken down the income, the outgoings, the depreciation, things like that. Next photo. Oh, hang on. That one there also shows from the air. You can see the floor plan, and then you can see the courtyards that are different colours. That's all. It was 4 strata titles in one.
4 in one. Snapshot of the overall area, the building, the legal description, outgoings, recently sold properties.
Yes.
Market overview of what's happening in Brookvale, what's happening with the Kindy world, and then we've got the back page as well.
Absolutely. So let's unpack it.
Let's unpack this tale of this sale.
So could you want to go back to the beginning of that? What do you want to talk about?
So it went to auction. As everyone knows, it did fall. It was passed in. And then following the auction, Mark, we did receive a lot of inquiry and a lot of feedback following that auction. So auction scared off a lot of people. It was passed in. Then following that, it was the night of, wasn't it? You received a lot of inquiries, a lot of interest to do with the Kindy.
Yeah, so at the moment, if anyone's wondering what's happening in the commercial world, investors are getting a little bit confident. So before there was that fear of loss, that's sort of gone now. They're pretty like, yeah, whatever, if this doesn't sell, I'll find another one. So we found that sort of held us back a little bit in that we know people having confidence in the marketplace and knowing that they can buy something else. So this type of asset, and I was trying to explain this to Xanth off air, this type of asset would have sold probably for a 4 to 5% return. Now it was being offered at a 6 to 7% return. What that means is if your percentage is lower, that means you're paying a higher price for the property. If you pay an ultra low price for the property, then that'll push your percentage up. Because don't forget, your rent, to get to a yield, that percentage, you index the rent over the purchase price. So it's a bit of a moving feast. Does that make sense?
It makes sense to me. When you cut it down in layman's terms, I can understand. Oh, look, there I am. How fun. That's me on a tricycle.
That's you in the Kindy just trialing some of the equipment.
Yeah. How fun. It was a great day.
It is. Now, the outgoing 20 grand strata, guess what? You don't have to worry about that. The tenant's paying it. Council, 5,000, guess what? You don't have to worry about paying that. All water. Land tax. With Kindies, you don't have to pay land tax. And the reason why I mention that is because land tax these days, it can be 50 grand of your rent that you have to surrender to the government on an annual basis, but the tenant was paying that as well. Actually, sorry, kindies don't pay land tax.
Interesting.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes, the government does that to look after the kids.
There's a shortage of kindergartens too, I'm sure. If anyone's thinking about opening up a new business, kindergartens are always in demand, always.
Your mum's a kindy teacher.
Yes, my mum manages a kindergarten in Mona Vale.
Hey.
Hey.
All right. So this sale, very good return. The buyer that bought it was not a Northern Beaches person, and they were just chasing that rental return. The people were a bit freaked out because the developer had the same surname as the tenant. So a lot of purchasers were put off by that concept because they were saying, "Hey, are you sure that rent's right? And have you guys got something going on that we don't know about?" So it wasn't a really. I guess you whenever you see a lease, you want to make sure it's an at arm's length lease. It's common in the market type of lease, and when they saw that tenant having the same surname as the person selling it, they're like really dubious about it. But they were, in my opinion, they're like it was a 101 solid deal with the tenant.
With the tenant. And like we touched on before, it is really attractive to investors when you do have a long-term lease and a trustworthy tenant in place. This one's tenancy is in place until 2043, right? So
it has options all the way out to there. And don't forget, like I guess to put it in ABC terms, if you had, say you lived in Kalara, and say you sold your family home for $4 million, you buy an asset like this, and 300 grand a year, because all costs are paid for, 300 grand a year at the age of 65, 75 can push you around the world for the rest of your life, year in, year out. So it's a pretty solid investment and a pretty solid return.
Oh, absolutely. I can see exactly where you're coming from. And gosh, if I had $4.3 million and this asset it would just pay itself off. And it's kind of like a set and forget thing. You just set it up. The tenant's basically covering all of the outgoing costs and all of the maintenance and things for you. They're paying off that loan for you. And then you can just hightail out of here and do whatever you want.
And we had on this campaign, Xanth, we had 90 groups through, so it was a busy 4 weeks. It sold after the auction, a week after the auction, and it just goes to show that it's sometimes if you are, I know with auction clearance rates at the moment, they're not particularly high, so they're sitting at 50-60% in some states, but definitely. You can lose confidence if it doesn't sell at auction. A deal like this can give you confidence because you can see that it's sold for what the owner wanted after the auction, not under the hammer.
Yeah. An auction, like we touched on before, does scare a lot of people. This is a very unique kind of property in the commercial space. 4 titles in one lot, does kind of pay itself off. It lends itself to really great investment opportunities. It's a long-term investment, so it's not something that you just quickly release. You'd want to hold on to that asset for a long time and really suck the juices out for all it's worth.
Hey, Xanth, you want to know a really good part about this deal? The rent goes up every year. So when you sign a lease, you can opt for 3% increases, 4% increases, 5% increases, or CPI. It's negotiable. It's fixed once the lease is signed, but these guys, the tenant, when they took the property some years ago, they signed up on a CPI increase. The good news at the time was that was quite low. The bad news is today it's up around 7%. So that rent's moving up 7%. This obviously, if it was triggered today, it would be moving up 7% today. So that's a hefty increase that's 21 grand on $300,000 of rent. That's nice.
per child. Yeah, rents are going crazy, even in the residential world as well. So knowing that it's also applicable to commercial,
Yeah.
just under that CPI though, that's quite interesting. So if you were thinking about purchasing a commercial property, as a purchaser, would you want to have that CPI in someone's lease? I would say that you would, right? If it's negotiable.
It's a cycle, and at the moment, absolutely. But I'm sure
Yeah.
there's times in that cycle when the CPI is maybe at a couple of percent. You know, you go, that's not that good. But the bottom line is going up every year. Before we go, if you do the maths on 72 kids on that amount of rent, that's about $4,000 per child that the kindy operator is paying in rent for each child. So I know we whinge about daycare, but it's $4,000 a year just for the rent component for an average kindy in Sydney.
When Mark told me that, I thought he was talking about about how much it costs to put a child in kindergarten, not the cost
No,
of
that's
the
right.
How fun.
Look, I don't know what it costs for you if you want to put your kid in a kindy. It's been a while since I've done that, but for the operator, that's a fair hefty, that's a piece of rent to have a kid in a property.
Yeah, which is why it is so crucial to increase those numbers of children coming in to help pay for your rent and outgoing costs as well.
You want to be at maximum capacity, that's for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Which is quite the norm around the Northern Beaches as well.
That's it.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Special.
Zan, thank you very much. Thank you for the entertainment of the tricycle riding at the kindy when we were there. You're a ball of fun. Guys, have a beautiful day. Anything else we're going to roll out on?
No, just enjoy the soggy weather.
Is it raining?
It is.
It's pouring iron. Guys, that's the tale of sale of 23 Roger. How to buy a commercial property, what a yield is, an actual sale, an actual price, 4.3 sale, 300,000 rent coming year, a 7% return, triple net return is what we also covered today. That's Kindies. Have a great day. Oh, you got a link there, Zan? Did you put it in the comments?
Yeah, so if anybody is interested in reading more on triple net income, rental return, kindergarten commercial space, here's a link to see the actual information memorandum that was sent out, which is great. I almost forgot to show them. And then also we do have a link to the actual property itself as well. So if you're an investor...
Can you drop that live link into comments so it'll pop up for people in their comment section?
It should pop up now, right? Comment.
Yeah, can you put in comments again for us and paste it? And then that'll come up on everyone. So guys, if you want to unpack more details on this property, what this person purchased, a little bit more about Kindies, we're going to put a live link in right now that you can click on in the comment section, and then you can click on that little puppy.
Yeah, fire away, and then just let us know if you've got any further questions that we can help you with.
Have you put in the comments yet?
It should be in there now.
Yeah, no, I can see it now. Awesome. All right, guys, take care. Click on the link if you want more information about the tale of the sale of 23 Roger. Have a great day.
Have a great day.
See ya. Thanks. Bye.